My name is Samuel Wiggins, and I'm Chairman and CEO of Student Housing of America, Inc. And we are the nonprofit organization that made this video possible and others like it as part of our ongoing commitment to not only provide safe and affordable housing for students, but also a safe environment where they can thrive and learn. And I'm here today to talk to you about security awareness. Why am I talking about it? It's because I have over 25 years of experience in the security field, with half of that time being spent as a special agent in the federal government conducting criminal investigations and executive protection. So let's get started. So, what is security? If you pull up on the internet, which everyone does these days, the definition of security is the state of being free from danger. But are we ever really free from danger, especially in today's world? I don't think so. I would more like to think that a better definition would be the mindset that you need to recognize danger or risk and to take the appropriate actions to either avoid danger altogether or minimize its impact to your health and safety. Now, there are three types of security. First being personal security, which is protecting yourself. The next being physical security, which is protecting what you own or your assets. And the last being information security, which is protecting your data or your digital footprint. They're all important to your well being and they're all worthy of discussion. But today we're going to focus on personal security and taking the steps necessary to ensure your safety and survival. Now, there are 5 steps to personal security. And for the ease of remembering, I made it into an acronym. And I trademark it, so don't try to steal it. I call it S.P.E.E.D. And S.P.E.E.D stands for Situational Awareness, Planning, Emergency Contacts, Engage in Safe Practices, and Defensive Tactics. Now, which one do you think is the most important to personal security? Well, I would say situational awareness. In fact, I would further say that situational awareness is the foundation of personal security. And what does it mean? Well, exactly as you read it. It's being aware of where you are, what's happening around you, and if anything is in your environment is a threat to your health and safety. For example, let's look at situational awareness in your daily life. Let's say you're walking from campus back to your student housing, whether it be a dorm or your student apartment complex. Are you listening to music from your phone? Do you have your earphones or AirPods or headphones on? Or are you talking on your phone? Are you in a deep conversation with a friend or an argument as you're walking back and forth? Or better yet, are you engaged in social media? Are you doing texting? Are you doing emails? Are you looking at TikTok or Instagram or Facebook? Well, in all of these situations, they are examples of poor situational awareness. Now, how can you make that better? Well, for example, if you're listening to music, hey, and you have earphones on, have one earphone in and one out so you can hear what's going on around you. And then just be aware visually what's going on around you. If you're talking on the phone, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But just remember, you got to multitask. Be aware of what's going on around you while you're having that conversation. And if you're doing all the social media stuff, then take a break. Be like a meerkat. As you're sending a text or email, as you're looking at that funny TikTok video, every now and again, look up and see what's happening. Or if you hear something or if you see something, look up and assess and keep reassessing your situation. It's in our instincts. Just follow your instincts. What about when you drive? Are you listening to loud music, enjoying yourself? Are you engaged in heavy conversation with people riding with you? Are you talking on the phone, hands free, I hope? Or worse yet, are you texting on the phone as you drive, which is illegal, by the way? Well, again, not good situational awareness. If you're going to listen to music, hey, listen to it at a moderate level so that you can hear something happening behind you, like an ambulance, a car crash, anything. And keep your eyes open and scan like you're taught in driving school. If you're talking to your friends, hey, look at the road while you're talking to your friends and keep one ear open for anything going on around you. Now, what about when you're in a classroom or you're getting that coffee at Starbucks or you're eating at that restaurant? Are you the type that when that door opens, someone comes in, do you look up? Or if you hear a noise, someone drops a spoon or a cup, you look around? Well, if you are, you're practicing good situational awareness. We should always respond to changes in our environment. When you do that, you pay attention to what's going on around you. That's the first and foremost aspect of personal security. Well, what comes next? Well, once you're aware of any possible danger or risky situation, hey, you have to plan on how to deal with it or how to avoid it. And that's where planning comes in, the next critical element. And planning is merely taking appropriate courses of action to deal with either a risky situation to minimize that risk or to avoid a dangerous situation because you can see it coming through your high level of situational awareness. Some easy examples of planning are things that we've learned our whole life. We've always learned what to do in natural disasters. If there's a tornado, earthquake, fire, hey, we can just sing it out what we need to do. But have you practiced it? For example, if you're on campus and you've been told that, hey, if there's a tornado, go to your shelter in place location. Have you actually gone and seen that location? Have you actually walked it from whatever classroom you're at just for the heck of it to see just how long it would take and where it is? If you need to evacuate campus, have you actually tried walking the evacuation route to see how long it would take? Well, maybe you should. You know, you need to rehearse these things and make them muscle memory. In an emergency situation, panic rules. If you don't have a plan and you don't know that plan by heart, it's not part of your muscle memory, you're really going to have a hard time functioning. So, whatever, wherever you decide to do, or wherever emergency you think you may have to deal with, hey, rehearse dealing with it. That's part of good planning. And remember the old saying, fortune favors the prepared mind. Always keep that in mind. Now, let's talk about campus. Part of good planning, too, for regular planning that you should know, you should have extensive knowledge of because it's programmed into you, especially on campus, is where your emergency phones are. Most universities have those blue phones. Their emergency phones are all over campus. You should know where each one is in case of an emergency. You should also use your campus safety app. Just like blue phones, most universities have campus safety apps that they encourage you to download and use. You should know those apps inside out. They provide many safety benefits, which I'll get into later in my presentation. Now, that's just planning that we know of and that we should take advantage of. What about incidental planning? What about planning like worst case scenario? Now, I'm the type of person, wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing, I'm always thinking, what's the worst that can happen? Now, I plan for it just in case it does happen. On the outside chance, the worst happens, I'm ready for it. And that's just where I've been programmed just from training. But you should be that way too. You should be able to, if you're walking to get that coffee, you should think about multiple things that may happen so you have a general plan of what to do. If you're going to that concert and you're packed in a crowd, you should have a plan in case something happens and you're facing a stampede or you're trying to get out of there, you're trying to evacuate. Always have a plan. Always just kind of think that's being safety minded and security minded. So we talked about situational awareness and we talked about planning. As you see, they both play into my definition of personal security, which is being aware of danger and also knowing the course of action to take to either avoid it or minimize its impact. That's situational awareness and planning hand in hand. But let's talk about another aspect of personal security, which is emergency contacts. Now, emergency contacts comes in two forms. One is 911, which we're all familiar with. The other is, or the other are, trusted contacts. And that's a list of trusted people that you know, such as family or close friends, who you can call in an emergency and who know your routine. They know where you're supposed to be at, and they know multiple ways to contact you. So let's go back to 911. Now, with 911, most times we ever call it will probably be from our cell phones. That's just the way modern technology is today. And it's simple 911, and you get in touch with an emergency responder. But there are two great things about cell phones that you should be aware of. One is you can call 911 and it will always go through. For example, let's say we've all been there. Let's say you're in an area where you're a Verizon customer, you have no Verizon service, no bars whatsoever. However, your buddy who has AT&T, they have 5 bars, 5G. Well, guess what? If something were to happen, you can call 911, even though you have no service with Verizon. Your call will still be patched through by AT&T or T-Mobile or any other cellular network provider. That's because federal law mandated that all cellular network providers must patch any 911 call through, whether they are a customer or not. That's a great safety benefit for us. The other cool thing about cell phones is that they have an emergency SOS function. Now, there are two main cell phone manufacturers, or at least the software. That's iPhone, Apple, and Android. Both of these phones have an emergency SOS function that you can utilize. They may differ a little bit in how they operate, but they both pretty much do the same thing, which is when it's activated, it will ping your last known location to the emergency contacts you have in your phone and also send an emergency text message as well as an emergency phone call when needed. And if your location changes, it will also update them about your location. And some emergency SOS functions will even contact 911 when you can't. That's a great thing to know about your cell phone. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the university safety apps. So, as I said before, most universities have them. They're called campus safety apps. And they all have the name of their mascot for each university usually. And they encourage you to download and use them. But let me talk about the benefits of them. With these campus safety apps, you can contact the university police, your campus police immediately. You can request an escort if you're walking by yourself at night through the app. You can even let your friends know who have the app as well, hey, that you're alone and they can watch you. You can share your location, they can watch you as you walk along. Heck, he can even tell you the weather. So it's free and it's great, and you should make use of it. And then one more thing about emergency contacts. When you put your trusted people in your phone, make sure that they are people who will answer their phone. We've all been in the situation where you have that one call, your phone's about to die, or something bad's happening. You just get squeezed that one call off and you're praying, please, please, please answer the phone. Your trusted contact should never be in that category. They should be people that, hey, if you call them once, they may not answer, but as soon as you call them again, hey, they answer or they immediately respond to text. So make sure you choose them carefully. And finally, please always have a fully charged cell phone. I have a college son, and I tell him all the time, hey, I can see his phone. It's barely a half a charge. Always have a fully charged cell phone. And if you can, take an extra battery or take a Mophie, take something with you that you can keep on your person so that your phone can stay charged. Remember, we rely on our cell phones for almost everything. So make sure that they are functioning. So another thing about trusted contacts, hey, you never know what may happen to your cell phone. You might have it fully charged. You might have that Mophie or that backup battery. It's all good. But guess what? All of a sudden, you drop in water. Or I'll give you a story. I remember a time I was traveling in China, and the group I was with, we were doing a security mission. The group I was with, some of the guys were playing around. They said, oh, we always jump on bridges. We're over a bridge, over a river. We always jump over bridges everywhere we go. Guy jumps, his cell phone flies out of his hand into the river, gone. So always keep in mind that, hey, your cell phone is not indestructible. You could lose it. And if you have to use someone else's cell phone, do you have a number memorized that you can call? Always have at least one or two numbers memorized of people that you can call who are part of your list of trusted contacts. Now, I talked about cell phones and the benefits of that, but also you have to remember the same thing applies to smartwatches. You can make an emergency call from your smartwatch. You can activate an SOS function where you can be located from your smartwatch. So it's just an extra benefit, more tools in the toolbox that you can have to keep you safe. So let's not sleep on the smartwatches. So you know, the things I talk about in this presentation about your personal security really applies to everyone. No matter who you are, anything can happen to anyone. But that's putting everything together that we talked about today to help you deal with a highly risky situation or even a dangerous situation. Now let's go back to the other side, engaging in safe practices. Now, safe practices generally is just having habits that you do in your daily life that allow you to minimize risk. And it applies across the board. It's from where you live to when you travel. Let's talk about each one. Where you live. The first and foremost things I have to say is keep your doors locked. Keep that dorm room door locked. Keep your apartment door locked. Even you step out for a second. Hey, I'm just going around the corner. Hey, I'm going over to my boys' room. I'm going over to my girls' room. Keep the door locked. That's just number one rule of safety. Also, get an alarm system. I can't recommend that enough. They're pretty cheap these days. You can even get some you can install yourself, but have an alarm system. Let me throw some stats at you. In the United States, every 26 seconds, a home is broken into. And of all those break ins, 34% of them are done because a door or window was left unlocked. And if you don't have an alarm system in your home, you increase the likelihood of your home getting burglarized by 300%. Those things alone should be enough incentive to engage in safe practices. And let's say you have that locked door. Let's say you get a knock or your doorbell is ringing, whether it be 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. What do? You certainly don't just open that door. You check to see who's on the other side. If you have a peephole, use it. You have a ring camera or some other video camera, hey, great, use that too. But if you don't, hey, ask who it is. If it's someone you don't know, then assess the situation. If they say they're there to do like emergency maintenance or repairs, or they're trying to sell you something, hey, I would verify who they were before I provided access. And you can do that by asking for a number that you can call where they work or asking for ID. That's on you, but use your best judgment. And then when you're in your home, and let's say you have friends over, let's say you're having a party, at a party, there's always a one, or your friends will bring in a one off, or you have someone servicing your home, they're fixing your fridge or working on your cable. Just keep your valuables out of sight, preferably locked up, but definitely keep them out of sight. Don't create targets of opportunity. Don't create incentives for people who may have nefarious purposes to try to come back and break into your home. And for dorms or student housing, you have common areas. Those common areas, you may have your books, your computer, your backpacks, because you're going to and fro. And usually the TVs are located there and people hang out. Keep your stuff under your control. Don't leave anything out of sight. Don't walk away, leave things unattended. It's again, it's about not creating targets of opportunity. And the final thing I'll say about where you live, do not provide unauthorized access to your dorm or to your student housing. That's just not good. Be a good neighbor. Be security minded. If someone's coming up as you're using your fob or using your key or code to get in, and it always happens, someone comes to, hey, can you leave it open? Don't do it. If it's someone you know that lives there, okay, I can see that might be an exception to the rule, but they really should practice good security too and use their own access. Don't do piggybacking. Piggybacking is where someone walks in as you're getting ready to close that door gate and they're like, hey, can you let me in? Or they're grabbing it right behind you. Don't do that. That's a big security risk. You're responsible for that person's entry. If they get in and do something bad, then that really kind of falls on you. So be a good neighbor, be security minded, and provide access only to yourself. And the other thing too is if you see something suspicious or something wrong, hey, say something. Tell your apartment manager, tell your RA, tell the university police. That snitches get stitches thing is just, it's nonsense. Security is everyone's responsibility. So now let's talk about driving or riding in a car. When you're driving, if you're going to a location, try to park close to that entrance. Get as close as you can. And if it's at night, get as close as you can and get and park in a well-lit area. Once you're leaving that location, going back to your car, make sure you have your keys in your hand and make sure as you're approaching your car that you can see underneath your car. Just check your car out all together, check in back of it from a distance, underneath the car and in front of it. Make sure no one's hiding or someone's just kind of waiting to jump you. And before you get in that car, and open that door, look in the back seat. Just check. You don't want to be in a horror movie where you're driving, you see a pair of eyes looking at you in the rearview mirror. And then finally, once you get in the car, immediately lock your door before you do anything else. Now let's talk about rideshare. So when you're ordering that Uber, that Lyft, or a taxi, make sure you're getting the car that you order. Nowadays they all have software where you can match license plates and the driver, and that's great. Definitely use that. But when you walk up to ask that driver who they're picking up, don't use your name. Say you ask them who you're there for. Let them provide you with the name, and make sure their face matches the face you see on your phone or whatever device you're using. Now, with that, let's move to when you're out and about in public. The number one thing about being in public is always, well, in any situation, is situational awareness. Be aware of what's going on around you and be aware of any change in your environment. May be harmless or may not be, but you should know it. Also, if you're carrying backpacks and purses, hey, keep them close to you. I wouldn't advise putting like a purse across your body because if someone's trying to do a snatch and grab, they're going to knock you down. They're going to drag you down. I would advise keeping purses and keeping backpacks on your shoulder with your hand on the strap. That way, if someone tries to snatch and grab, then it's a tug of war. And usually, when you have a firm grip like that and you have it close to your body, that kind of discourages any would-be robbers. And when you're sitting down, let's say you go to a bar or you go to a restaurant, in bars, they have hooks underneath the bars where you can put your purse or your backpack. Put it in front of you on that hook. If you're sitting down at a table, hey, put that purse in your lap or put that backpack at your feet. If you can't do that, put it beside you and keep a hand on it. Or better yet, put it between you and another person if you're sitting with someone you trust. Now, as far as wallets, cell phones, and credit cards go, don't keep anything in your back pocket. Try to keep everything in your front pockets because that way it makes it much harder to steal, makes it much harder for you to lose it, like when you're sitting down, bending, or doing something. Better yet, if you're wearing a coat or a jacket, hey, keep it in your coat or keep in that jacket and keep it zipped up or buttoned up. That's the most secure way. And finally, whether you're outdoors or indoors, always have an escape plan. It's back to planning. Always have a plan of what you're going to do if an emergency event or a dangerous event happens. Okay, let's talk about school or work. As I said before, you should know your evacuation and shelter in place protocols. And not just know them, you should practice them. Walk that evacuation route, go see where that shelter in place is. And beyond that, you really should know your entire campus inside out. Or if you're working somewhere, hey, know your work location inside out. Know the multiple entries and exits to each location and know how to get around, especially at night. Also, be familiar with your campus police. I can't say that enough. I know that, hey, back when I was in college, I always thought of the university, well, the campus police as, hey, the fun police, always wrecking the fun. But that's not the case. Their sole purpose there is to keep you safe. And if you develop a relationship with them where you know them and they know you, that only improves your security profile. Then finally, a nod back to emergency or trusted contacts. Provide a copy of your schedule or let one or two friends and especially family know where you're supposed to be, what your course schedule is, where you work at, or if you have plans to travel. They should know how to get in touch with you if an emergency happens. Okay, let's talk about walking. Always try, if you can, walk with a group. There's safety in numbers, especially at night. If you're walking by yourself, and you're walking at night, stay in well lit areas and let your trusted contacts, friends and family, know where you're going and when you'll be back. Also, don't be distracted. Practice good situational awareness. Keep your eyes and ears open. So if you're alone and you're on campus, hey, know where the emergency phones are, those blue phones. Also, make use of that campus safety app. And you can request an escort service. There's nothing wrong with that. And that goes for anyone. Don't feel like you're too tough or you don't need it. If you feel like you feel threatened or you just don't feel right, hey, request an escort service. Or even let a buddy know that, hey, this format, come join me, or hey, just stay in touch with me until I make it where I'm supposed to be. There's nothing wrong with that. That's being security minded. And when off campus, stay in well lit and well trafficked areas. Look, remember, when you're on campus and you're at your university, hey, it's its own world. You're there with equals, people around your same age, people from different backgrounds, there for a common purpose. When you're off campus, you're in a totally different environment. And I know you think you're grown. Yeah, I know you can do what you want to do. You can go out, hang out, you can drive, parties. But to someone else, you're still a target. So be wary and be situationally aware. Then also, when you're walking or whatever you're doing by yourself, especially at night or in a risky situation, don't get distracted. I'll say that again. Limit the use of cell phones. I would even say don't wear your earphones and just focus on what's happening around you. And if you have a routine for walking, don't let it be routine. Vary your routes. Just remember there is always someone watching what you do. And you do not want to become predictable because predictability leads to you becoming a bigger target. Now, let's talk about traveling. Hey, you're in college. Like I said, you're grown. You want to travel. You want to have a good time, and that's great. But there are a few rules of the road when traveling you should be aware of. First of all, let your family or friends or close and trusted friends know where you're going, your itinerary, and check in with them regularly. It's just a smart thing to do. And also, please do not broadcast your plans on social media. I know that's the thing to do. I see it all the time when my son's looking at all of his social media. His friends say, hey, we're here, we're going here, we're doing that, oh, we're having a ball. The only people who need to know what you're doing or how much fun you're having are your friends and family. The world does not need to know because I've seen too many cases where people have gone traveling, they broadcast on social media. When they come back, their home's been broken into because people knew they were gone. Or where they were going, people knew they were coming and they were waiting for them. They knew exactly where they would be and exactly what they would be doing. Know your destination, especially if you're going overseas. Know where you're going, know where you can hang out that's safe, and know where you shouldn't go. Know what taxis to use or ride share, and also know the regulation rules there, especially overseas. Different countries have different customs, different cultures, and different rules. Be respectful and be mindful. Then again, back to the cell phone. Keep your cell phone fully charged and have a different means of charging, a portable charger, a Mophie, a battery, but have something where you should never be worrying about, oh, my cell phone's about to die. What we use nowadays to pay for anything, you either use your phone or use credit cards or use a bank card. The art of hard cash, dollar bills or coins is kind of going out the window. But when you travel, hey, just have some cash on you as a backup because you never know what happened to your credit cards. They can get compromised or they could get damaged. Your cell phone could get destroyed. Then where are you at? So always keep some hard cash on you just as a safety rule. Now I saved the best for last. Let's talk about where you socialize and being safe, or rather where you party. So it's a weekend. Hey, you're in college, and what are weekends for? For hanging out, and that's great. You should do that as part of the college experience. But when you do, and you're going to that bar or you're going to that party, hey, go with people you trust, and better yet, leave with people you trust. And have a plan when you go from one place to another, where you're bar hopping or you're going to a party and you're going out to eat and going home. Have a plan for safely getting there, each destination, and then back to your point of origin. Here's something I want to focus on. Beware of stamps or marks. If you're standing in line and you get up to that bouncer or whoever, and they stamp your hand and they put a mark in your hand, but you have not seen anyone else that line before you get it, then that to me is a red flag. You need to bail and go somewhere else, because sometimes in certain places, if they mark you, they're not marking you to get in and out of the club. They're marking you for someone inside the club to either rob you or do something else bad to you. So let's try to avoid that. And when you're in that bar or at that party, hey, watch the bartender make your drink. And Never take any drinks from any strangers. If you're going to accept a drink, let it be from someone that you know and that you trust, preferably someone you came there with. And a big thing you have to be aware of is never leave your drink unattended. I know you hear that a lot, but putting a napkin over your drink does not keep your drink safe. If you leave that drink, dump that drink when you get back or give it back to the bartender. If that drink's that good where you got to have it, hey, take it with you to the restroom or wherever you go. That's just the way it is. Someone can slip anything you drink in a heartbeat. So just keep that in mind. And moderate your drinking, or at least someone in your group should moderate their drinking and should have a level head. If you are supposed to get turned up, but you see everyone else getting turned up in your group, hey, you might want to turn it down so that you keep a level head. A group of people with just a couple of them intoxicated, hey, that at the most is a spectacle. If all of you are drunk and intoxicated, hey, guess what? That's a liability. So keep that in mind. The more you drink, the bigger a target you become. Let's wrap this up with defensive tactics. Now, everything I talked about was designed to help you avoid danger and minimize your risk. Let's talk about how to deal with a dangerous situation with more avoidance or when you have to go hands on. First and foremost, I would say I would encourage everyone to take some form of self defense. You can either go for your black belt martial arts or take the most basic course in self defense. And I don't care how tough you think you are or how well you think you can handle yourself, unless you've been professionally trained, you can learn something new by taking a course in self defense. And think of it this way, as I mentioned before, once again, more tools in the toolbox. Now, when it comes to defensive tactics, always trust your instincts. If you're walking somewhere, situational awareness is great, but also you have your gut. If something in your gut tells you something's wrong or something's bad or something's dangerous, hey, trust it and get out of there. And then when you're out and about, wherever you're at, project confidence and project awareness. Attackers pick their targets based on two things: how confident you are or how not confident you are, and how distracted you are. Remember, they're looking for targets of opportunity. When you show confidence and awareness, you're showing them that you are not an easy target. And if you wind up getting targeted and getting confronted, use your voice. Be angry, yell. Don't be afraid to use words like no, back off, stop. It does two things. It draws attention to your situation from anybody who might be around, and it kind of shocks the attacker, the would-be attacker, and let them know that you might be more trouble than you're worth. Hey, and sometimes don't be afraid to use profanity. What you want to drive home is loudness, assertiveness, and anger, to just make them back off so you can get out of there. Then finally, practice engaging in target denial. And target denial is simply not letting yourself be attacked, not letting yourself become the victim. And you can do that many ways. One is running away. Two is fighting an attacker off enough where you can get away. And three is running away. So you see the theme here? The theme here is that you do just enough so that you can get away. You're not there to be a John Wick or a Bruce Lee. You're there just to do enough that provide yourself a way to escape and get out of the dangerous situation. So now we talked about the critical elements of personal security. I do need to cover one more thing that I'm sad to say is a reality in our country, and that's an active shooter situation. So, an active shooter, as defined by the FBI, is an individual who's trying to kill a lot of people in a confined space and populated area, and they're trying to do it with firearms. Now, they say there's no pattern or methodology to their selection of victims, but that's not necessarily true. We've seen in too many situations where an active shooter went to a school or to a work location and they knew people there and they were looking for certain targets and then shooting anybody else. So the rules kind of go out the window with the active shooter. Now, but the one thing that doesn't change is they've all proven to be quickly evolving situations. Most active shooter incidents happen start and finish within 10 to 15 minutes. And usually it takes law enforcement to come and end the active shooter situation. With that in mind, that means that you only need to survive to stay safe for 15 minutes on average. And there are 3 ways to deal with such a situation. You either run, you hide, or you fight, in that order. Ideally, you run. You just get the hell out of there. If you can find a safe way out and you know that it's away from the shooter and the shooter's not nearby, hey, then you run. If there are people with you, try to take as many people with you as you can. If they don't agree, leave anyway. Only try to take people. Don't try to take belongings. The only thing you should have in your hand is when you get out of there is maybe your cell phone if it's readily available. And once you get to a safe place, call 911. If you happen to encounter the police once you get out into a safe place, hey, put your hands up and obey their commands. Because from their perspective, they don't know who you are. They think you could be the active shooter, so they have to clear you first. So obey their commands. So if you can't run, then hide. If the shooter's close enough that you can't safely get away, but far enough away where you can find a hiding place, hey, do so. And find a place ideally that provides concealment and cover. Concealment shields you from the shooter's view, and cover stops the bullets. It's protection. And when you're hiding, don't make any sounds. Make sure your cell phone's on silent and just stay quiet until the police come. If you can't hide, then the only thing you have left is to fight. You can't run, you can't hide, then you have to fight. If you're in a situation where the shooter is close to you and coming on you, where there's no time to hide and you can't run, then dial 911 if possible. And if you can't dial 911, just leave your phone on so the police can pinpoint your location. And if you're actually confronted in a life-threatening situation with the shooter on you, hey, you got to commit to action. Grab anything around you, disrupt the shooter, attack the shooter, be loud, be aggressive, and move quickly. Once you commit to action, you have to do that. That's your only way, your only chance of survival. So these are the 3 responses to an active shooter situation. So now that you know them, you really need to rehearse them to have that muscle memory in case the worst happens, you're actually in that kind of situation. Rehearsing prepares your mind and gets you ready for any eventuality. And that goes back to what I talked about today. If you take anything away today, just remember S.P.E.E.D, situational awareness, planning, engaging in safe practices, emergency contacts, and defensive tactics. That's the end of my presentation. I want to thank you for your time today and for letting me talk to you. And I also want to let you know that, hey, look, these things are designed to keep you safe, but anything can happen. So if something has already happened to you and you haven't reported it, hey, get help. Report it to the police. Do something. If it's a friend that something's happened to, hey, get them to report to the police and get them the help they need. If unfortunately something happens to you in the future, it's the same thing. You know, there's help out there for you, and there's also the police. Please make sure to use them. Don't be afraid to speak up. I also posted some links to resources in case you have any more questions or you need any more information. Feel free to share this video or these links with your friends and family. And if you really have questions you want to talk further, you can reach me at our website, www.studenthousingofamerica.org. Thank you and be safe.